Hey guys, we're here in the cellar of Celebrate Me Home. My name is Mark Savage, owner of Cornerstone Web Studio, and I'm here with one of my favorite people ever, Mr. Bob Bailey, who's an executive coach and who really helped Cornerstone take it to the next level. I met Bob about a year and a half ago or so, and he came in and said, hey, I can turn this place completely around. I looked around and I thought I was doing pretty good. But you were very affordable and very convincing. And so I gave Bob a shot. If nothing else, I thought, hey, spending an entire day with the team would be a great exercise to show them how much Britt and I care about how safe they feel, how productive they feel, and job joy is our #1 cultural goal. So we sat down, and in less than a day, the entire company changed. I lost about 40% of my workload because other employees stood up and said, hey, I've been wanting to do that. I've been wanting to take this over. Roles changed. People stepped into different roles they weren't doing. Everything shifted around. Just to give you guys a quick example, Devin, our sales guy, had said, hey, Mark, every time you tell me that you're willing to help me, it actually makes me feel like you don't trust me. And I told him, well, every time I don't offer to help, it makes me feel like I'm not willing to jump in the trenches with you and do the work. And I want to be there to help you lift the load. So now we've worked out the partnership, right? He's actually doing way more of the work. He goes home feeling more gratified with the work that he's done, and he's crushing it. Yeah. And it took a lot off my plate.
Well, and it's what you hired him for.
Fair enough. So, Bob, could you give us a quick background there?
Oh yeah. Well, I was in the university realm for 18 years as a dean at a small university here in town, and then when I got to about 12 years ago, I started thinking, I like this idea of coaching. And I'd been coaching teams of college students for years. And being able to see people discover, who they are and being able to move forward and take ownership for their identity, take ownership for the way that they're gifted and talented, and then begin to see the organization work. It's fun.
Right on. So now you've moved on from the college campus to the boardroom of CEOs.
Yeah.
Give me some background. What could a CEO expect if they signed up for coaching with you?
Right.
What are some of the things they could expect in their company and their life personally?
Well, my hope is obviously that they would see the changes that you've seen. And I kind of like to look at it this way. It's a big deal to even open up to the idea of this kind of experience.
Right. I mean, it was humbling for me.
Yeah.
I thought I was doing it right in my mind.
Yeah. And so to take the word deal and use it as an acronym, thinking of discover, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to discover. We're going to discover our identity individually, personally, and then we're going to discover the identities of those on our team and eventually those of everybody in the company. So this discovery thing is really exciting. Then the next thing is engage. How do I engage in that? I want to see some I want to see some results from knowing what I know, because what I know is really important. What I don't know is really important. Both of those are important. And then the next thing would be to align myself. I want to align myself and my team and my company with what we know. So I'm going to align myself with what I know about me. I'm going to align myself with what I know about the folks that I'm working with. And that's my goal for everybody. And then finally, the last thing is to lead. I'm going to lead in this. And so that's kind of what you can expect. And that can take like we did with you, there's an initial training. There's first of all, discovery for you. Yeah. Then there's a discovery and a training for your team. And then follow up as we work through things.
I love that. I'll never look at the word deal the same way again.
That's good.
And it definitely helped me be a better leader. Just knowing the core values of my team and knowing where they would be best fit was huge.
Yeah.
But I think you touched on something for me that was a huge point, and that was I knew what I knew, but it was what I didn't know that was killing me. You created a real safe space in our office for them to just share. And after all of that flushed out and I started to know the things I didn't know, we could solve some of those issues moving forward.
Yeah.
So what do you think, obviously you've done this for countless companies and big organizations. What are some of the common issues you see with CEOs that they didn't know?
Right. Well, what we mentioned, one is, I do have a specific innate identity that motivates and drives me in the choices that I make and the way I think. And then they're the same thing for everybody on my team. And oh man, as I begin to see that and I'm looking at it, I'm saying, that makes sense. It makes sense for me. It makes sense for what I'm experiencing and what they're experiencing. We're from each other. And so there is a definite need for CEOs and leaders of all teams to understand themselves and to understand their people. So that need is there. The second need I see that's most important is communication, conversation, and to have intelligent conversation, to have safe conversation, to have respectful conversation. But that doesn't come unless I really understand myself and understand them. So we start with that and we move into conversation and relationship. And it's funny because you think, okay, well, we have all this technology, we have all these things we have to do. We're going to do long distance relationships. We're going to have long distance teams here, everywhere around the country.
Yeah, people working virtually, you mean?
Yeah,
right.
Virtually. Yeah. And it's still the same. Do I understand myself? Do I understand them? Do they understand me? And do we communicate? Is our conversation there? And do we create a relationship? So it's always those.
When we first started talking about communication, I thought, when I hear respectful communication, of course we have the millennial generation coming up and safe spaces is a big deal. Yeah. And so I always thought of it as I need to just be respectful in my tone. I need to maybe choose my words carefully.
Sure. Yeah.
But when I went through the training and as we've gone through the coaching, I realized that just knowing the innate core of an individual, and they're all so different, you actually can tell what would motivate somebody. You can tell when they get stressed out. You start to see those signs because you actually have a tool that will tell the leader and their team individually what their core values are, how they deal with negative conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Can you dive into that for a minute?
I can, yeah. I use the cornerstone of what I do is basically the
nice pun there, by the way. I like that.
The cornerstone. The cornerstone of what I do is called this Core Values Index. And what we're doing is we're discovering, it's a long story, but I'm just going to put it this way. We discover how we're innately hardwired. What are the core values that drive me, that don't change? And that's a key thing. These are innate things. Now I can learn all kinds of skills, like you said. I can learn, okay, I need to be respectful.
Right.
But why and how? Because everybody has their own learning style. That's critical to know, because I can be respectful, what I think is respectful, and I can be offending someone else. And so these core values are critical.
For me as a CEO or an owner or just honestly somebody that has 9 bosses, for me, it was about revenue growth overall, right? I mean, that's every day you wake up and you think, how can I make more money today than I did yesterday so that my people can have better vacations and better family lives? And what I found amazing is that for me, restructuring the organization based on where people innately are hardwired to be.
Absolutely.
I know for me personally, we grew by 40% that year, and about 40% of my workload was taken off. What kind of common benefits? I mean, for me, there was a huge revenue boost to this. I came into it thinking it would be a team building exercise. Sure. It was a company building exercise. Do you see that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the idea, one of the biggest things and another big thing that leaders and corporations and small businesses, large business always have to deal with is turnover and, employee satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it's all tied together. And when you line up your innate hardwiring with the jobs that are really sweetly aligned with who you are, satisfaction goes up. The stress is off for some reason because it just resonates with who you are. And so your satisfaction goes up, your turnover goes down. And you know that turnover is expensive.
It's a killer.
Is a killer.
Yeah, absolutely. You get somebody trained, and it hurts the rest of your team. You know, if you have somebody leave, it just brings down.
Well, keep in mind that turnover is a process. It's not a come in one day, okay, I'm done, or you come in and you say, hey, you're done. It's not that way.
No.
It takes months of disruption, confusion, taking different roles, adjusting, all of that going on and causing frustration and loss of revenue, loss of productivity. And so it's a 3, 4, 6, 12-month thing sometimes where this dissatisfaction comes for employees.
I know for me, having the experience with you, that I can honestly tell you guys, you're crazy if you don't sign up for at least a free consultation with Bob, right? You actually offer a free consultation?
Absolutely, yeah.
And well beyond. I mean, for me, it's you've done a lot of things, right? We did the training, we did the team building.
Yeah.
We reorganized the structure of the company based on where people are best fit.
Yeah.
And then as we've gone through the coaching, as situations come up, I actually have been able to call you. We come in,
right.
We've had a drink or dinner,
right.
and say this is going on in the organization. At times we meet with the teammate together,
yes.
Or I just get coached on how to do that. For me, those have been really valuable. What are some of the other things that you've seen CEOs use you for as you go through this coaching process?
Yeah, well, most of it is that very thing. You know, I'm stuck, and that's the key thing about coaching. The coaching is that, hey, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. We've got these things. Sometimes people don't even realize they're stuck.
Mm-hmm. Like me.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
And it's like, oh my goodness, wow.
Yeah, on the surface, everything seemed to be going good.
Yeah.
Our charts were going up. But wow, what a difference.
Right. And so in coaching, the idea is there's a discovery of not only our identity, but discovery of where we're stuck as a leader, as a company, whatever. And then that's where we begin to address issues. But again, all those issues come back to the idea of communication, conversation, respect, relationship, and identity. They're all there. But what you can expect is that we are going to come in, we're going to create an environment based on our innate abilities. And then we're going to begin to work on issues that come up as they come up. Being able to sit down with you or sit down with other team members, and that's what we offer, is, hey, we'll come in on a monthly basis, we'll set aside a certain amount of time per month for us to sit down and talk.
Well, hey, Bob, in conclusion, I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of things, but just to rein it in, what are the key benefits you see a leader taking from coaching with you?
Right. Well, I think of one thing initially that comes to my mind is what you said, that it freed you up at least 40% of your time. Now, here's the thing. There's also the issue of my intellectual, emotional, and spiritual energy that goes into my work. Everybody deals with that. And so we're freeing up more than just time. We're freeing up energy that you have for other things, maybe even to do what you really started this company to do. But you've ended up being this manager that's really not in your job description. So helping people be free to do that. I remember when a couple of guys that were in a company that I was coaching and working with and training, and after the initial training, the 6 hours, it was like these two guys had for 10 years been in the same area, same company, same basic job, and they were button heads all the time for 10 years.
That's a long time.
Both of them discovered that they had an innate identity that motivated them and drove them. And when they did that, they were willing to at least look at the potential of how that might change their way of relating to everyone, but to each other especially. Talked to their boss, and within 2 weeks, he said, we have recovered all of the cost of the training just because of these two guys.
And their newfound efficiency.
Their newfound relationship and conversational intelligence and efficiency. They were able to go out and do their work. And they even now like to do it together. And so it's pretty exciting to see that kind of thing.
It's interesting because I was focused on my relationship with the team,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about turnover being a killer.
Yeah.
So we got to tie those 2 points together. A lot of times leaders don't want to let people go because they know that they're perpetuating turnover, which would be a killer.
Correct.
And so now you have two guys that have been working together, a leader who kept them together because he didn't want to replace their skill set.
Right.
And they're button heads for 10 years.
Yep.
So oftentimes you could have internal conflicts that this will solve, and it has nothing to do with,
but think
a
about
leader relationship.
Yeah, and think about that though, the efficiency, the satisfaction, the effect that it has on everybody around them. I mean, they wouldn't even come close to each other physically for years.
That's hard. I mean, when you drive up to work, you want to enjoy the day.
Exactly.
And you don't want, Tom ruining your
Right.
mojo walking down the hall
Right.
and you're,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's huge. It's a huge thing for me to see. Really satisfying for me to see that happen in the lives of individuals, and from the top down.
Right on. Anything else you want to add for those who are still sticking around?
One of the things that really jumps out at me, every team that I've dealt with, there has to be one or two people that take on the role of the champion. Are we going to embrace this? This can't be just something you say, okay, we did that, 3 years ago, and we didn't do anything with it, but we did it. That's no good. This has to be something that you're committed to, that you have some champions, whether it's the CEO, whether it's the leadership team itself, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm thinking of one company back east that has two people that are the champions for that company.
I might not be the norm, but I felt like when you were done, everybody became the champion for you. We all have our CVI tags on our computer monitors.
Yeah.
Every time we get a new employee, we run them through the CVI. Every potential new hire, we run them through the CVI to see if they have the core values we need for the role. And whenever there's an internal conflict, you get the person that is in conflict asking for you to come in and do, I would call it mediation, I guess, at best. But we sit down, have a cup of coffee, and it's a safe space to say, hey, let's work this out.
Right. Yeah, and it's the exciting thing is when you have a champion or a whole team that are champions, that just love the thing and love what it's doing, it is transformational. And we can come in and we can sit down and we can talk, like you say, and it's in a safe space, and it's powerful.
Well, I've been watching you do this now for a couple of years. It definitely helped Cornerstone. The big things I always take away is you get more job joy, more team efficiency, and a leader can literally walk into work feeling incredibly welcomed in their office, and they actually have the emotional and spiritual energy to be the visionary that they need to be to lead that team.
That's right.
Now, you're willing to, for everyone watching, Bob's willing to do an hour consult for free, along with the assessment.
Correct.
So that's like a $300 value you get for free. Just sit down, have a cup of coffee with Bob, and see where it goes. I guarantee you within that hour, you're going to learn something that you didn't know about your business that you're going to take back to the office and it's going to help you grow.
Right.
And beyond that hour, I highly recommend signing up for coaching with Bob. Bob, thank you so much for being here and taking the time.